So before we leave Pallet behind, we should go bother Prof. Oak one last time and check out his sick 90s setup of a computer, because I'm not certain how else we can learn the main goal of this game. Read the manual? Look, that might work, but most of us couldn't read back when we first played these games. So instead, let's read this in-game email. Oh, don't tell me now that you're seeing flaws in my logic. Anyways, checking out Oak's computer, it says there's an email message here. ... I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. I can't believe that the ellipses are following me to this game as well. It must be destiny. Anyways, the message goes on. Finally, the ultimate trainers of the Pokemon League are ready to take on all comers. Oh ho ho! Is this a challenge that I have stumbled upon? Well, I like challenges. Bring your best Pokemon and see how you rate as a trainer. Pokemon League HQ, Indigo Plateau. P.S. Prof. Oak, please visit us. Wow, what a bunch of fanboys. Obviously, we gotta prove to them that we are the greatest trainers who ever lived. So I accept your challenge, Pokemon League. You will rue the day that you threw this gauntlet in my general direction. Looking at our map that we got from Gary's sister, Daisy, a fact that I'm only bringing up to spite him, we can see that all things considered, we're not that far away from the Indigo Plateau. It seems like it's a walk down the way from Viridian City, so we might as well head in that direction. Once again, we found ourselves on Route 1, and we run into some more Pidgeys and Rattatas, commonly referred to as Route 1 Mon. Route 1 Mon are relatively easy Pokemon to catch early on in your adventure, and sometimes they'll end up being members on your team until the endgame. I'm mainly pointing this out now because I decided not to point this out earlier for reasons that are beyond even me. Anyways, now that we have some balls, we should use them to try to catch us some Pokemon. After all, we gotta catch 'em all, or something like that. I'm not certain what the Pokemon motto would be nowadays. Rip off as much money as you can, sue everyone that has a halfway decent idea? I don't know. Here's hoping winds and waves turn things around. Anyways, I throw a ball at the Pidgey with such pinpoint accuracy that it makes me wonder if this Pokemon business doesn't work out, I might have a chance at Major League Baseball, and Pidgey winds up being caught. So yeah, this is how you add Pokemon to your team, and you can practically add any Pokemon you want to your team. You know, assuming you can find and catch them, which isn't always a guarantee. I'm just so good that of course I caught Pidgey on my first try. Ignore this footage is false! Anyways, we have just caught our first Pokemon. There's always something special about your first capture. You never forget it. What was my first caught Pokemon? How am I supposed to know? That was like 50,000 years ago or something along those lines. Either way, I'm fairly certain that the first Pokemon I caught was a Pidgey, and that's the Pokemon I thought we'd start the journey off with.
It's like poetry, so if they rhyme, every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one.
And so I decided to name this Pidgey Ace, because I'm super original. Anyways, as we return to Viridian City, oh hey look, a gym! I heard some strong trainers will hang out in Pokemon gyms, but we already have a challenge in mind, so let's head on over to this route, which according to the map, should eventually get us to the Indigo Plateau. And of course, since we found a new route, that means there's new Pokemon to encounter. On this route, we can run into Rattata, and new to us, Spearow. We already have a bird and a Route 1 Pokemon. I'll catch them for their Dex entries, but I don't plan on adding them to the team. However, there is a Pokemon here that I do want, and that's Mankey! Look at this cute little ball of rage. He will be mine. An easier way to make sure that you capture a Pokemon is to weaken it first, so I have Ace whittled down its health, and 1, 2, 3, we got ourselves a Mankey. Welcome to the team, pork chop. I can't tell you how many times I've named a Mankey that. Now that we have a small team going for us, we might as well see if we can take on the Ultimate Trainer Challenge at the Indigo Plateau. I mean, off-screen, I was able to get them all to be roughly level 8. I can't imagine that we'll need to be much stronger than that. As we head on further into Route 22, we are confronted by Gary, who swaggers on in. He greets us by saying, "Hey Westy, you're off to the Pokemon League?" Now, whatever would give you that idea? Forget about it. Aw, that's mean. I just want to be the best, like no one ever was. You probably don't have any badges, do you? The guard won't let you through without them. Oh yes, how could I make such a critical blunder? Badges are a sign of Pokemon trainers' level. They are won by defeating the various gym leaders in a region, who are basically expert in their chosen Pokemon type. You need 8 badges before you'll be allowed to take on the Pokemon League in any region. I can't believe that crucial detail skipped my mind, and it's definitely not me using this as a flimsy attempt to introduce such a key concept. Thanks for pointing this out to me, Gary. Guess I'll head out on my way now. By the way, did your Pokemon get any stronger? Oh no. Why do I hear boss music? That's right, it's time for a rematch with our rival. Throughout our journey, we will be facing off against him several times, and each time he acts as a sort of check-in, where he says to you, This is how strong you could be if you were a BAMF like me. For example, in this fight, his Pokemon are at level 9. We barely just caught our first Pokemon and he's already leagues ahead of us. But that's okay, because we have more Pokemon than he does. Maybe we can overwhelm him. Thankfully, our starter Buddy now has a Fire-type move, Ember, which should hopefully give us enough oomph to take down his Pidgey. Unfortunately, he follows up his Pidgey with his Squirtle. Thankfully, Squirtle doesn't have any Water-type moves yet, but we are able to use our entire team to whittle down its health until it finally falls to our might. Gary stands a bit dumbstruck and says, "Aw, you just lucked out." "Yeah, whatever helps you sleep at night, bro. Now give me my money." Outside of the battle, Gary tells us, "I heard the Pokemon League is crawling with tough trainers. I have to figure out how to get past them." "Yeah, I heard that too. Looks like we're both interested in taking on this challenge. Well, best of luck to you, friend. You should quit dawdling. You should quit dawdling. You should quit dawdling. You should quit. Okay, I can't say this line.
You should quit dwaddling and get a move on.
Thanks, babe. Couldn't have done it without you. Anyways, Gary leaves after delivering that impossible to pronounce sentence in his normal way. Little punk. Anyways, obviously we can't make it much further. As Gary stated, there's a guard in our way who won't let us through unless we have some badges. Looks like we're going to have to go to the various gyms and get us some gym badges. Well, if I remember correctly, there was a gym in Viridian City, so we should go check it out. Unfortunately, it looks like this gym is temporarily closed. How odd. Guess we should check this one out later. I guess we'll have to go to a different town if we want to get a badge. Taking a look at our map, it looks like Pewter City is the closest town to us. Hehehe. Pewter. That's a funny word. As we head on our way to Pewter City, we are stopped by the drunk old man from earlier who's feeling better because he had his coffee. "Hey kid, you want me to show you how to catch a Pokemon?" "I already have 3 of them." "Great, here's how you do it." He then drags you into a mandatory catching tutorial. "First, you grab the ball. Then you throw the ball. Then you get friends." The old man comments how he still has the ability to catch Pokemon with ease, but he worries that you might still suck at the game, so he hands you the TGTV. The TGTV is filled to the brim with tutorials, and I refuse to watch any of them. I'll have you know I graduated top of my class from the Pokemon Academy in Pokemon Stadium 2, thank you very much. Anyways, moving on to the next route, we come to Route 2, where we can run into a couple of bug types, which is pretty cool as bug types are my favorite types. I'm not joking, I've always had a soft spot for bug types, and they tend to be some of the most fun Pokemon on my teams. So let's add this little Caterpie to the team. I'm gonna call you Margarine. Connected to Route 2 is the Viridian Forest, which we'll have to navigate through in order to get to Pewter City. Upon entering the Viridian Forest, we can find a lot more bug types, like Metapods and Kakunas, which are the evolutions of Weedle and Caterpie. Oh, I haven't mentioned Weedle yet, have I? Look, there's over 1,000 of these creatures now, and this game has roughly 151. And that's not including the post-game. I am probably going to miss a few of them in this video. But I will promise to do a video going over every Gen 1 Pokemon. Feel free to comment on every video reminding me of this fact. Anyways, as we continue through Viridian Forest, we're likely to run into trainers who aren't our rival. Thankfully, most of them are bug catchers who only use bug-type Pokemon. I must prove myself to be the best at bug types. Luckily for me, Margarine is able to wipe the floor with most of these inferior hairy bugs. In fact, Margarine gains so much experience that he reaches level 7, where he can now evolve. Most Pokemon species have the ability to evolve, which is more like metamorphosis, but I'm fairly certain that word would not have fit in the old games. You can easily think of evolution in Pokemon as the Pokemon getting stronger because that's what happens. Either way, the bug Pokemon of Viridian Forest best show off this mechanic as they evolve at really early levels. And Margarine evolves from Caterpie into Metapod, and also learns how to harden. Must resist the obvious wiener joke. Krusty Margarine is the worst, I assume. I'm a real American and I only eat butter. Anyways, unfortunately the Weedle in this forest have poisoned my Pokemon. We'll have to retreat for now. Boy, that's a bit annoying. I hope that doesn't become a trend in this series. Anyways, now that we're done with our mandatory hospital run, we head back into the Viridian Forest where we run into a Pikachu! That's the mascot of this series. You are obviously coming with us. Welcome to the team. A name for Pikachu. So, fun fact, Pikachu's name comes from 2 different Japanese onomatopoeias. Pika Pika, the sound electricity makes, and Choo Choo, the sound that mice make. So with that in mind, I'm going to call Pikachu Zap Squeak. Heading on through Viridian Forest, we eventually run into the strongest trainer in here, Bug Catcher Sammy, who has a terrifyingly strong level 9 Weedle. Okay, it was terrifying when I was a kid. Thankfully, Buddy is able to barbecue it, and we can head on out of Viridian Forest. Man, imagine taking over 3 episodes to get through this place. Anyways, we now arrive at Pewter City, a stone gray city. I would call that color a more charcoal color. Also, there's this guy who asks us if we know what he's doing. Do I look like I want to know what you are doing? That's right, it's hard work. What is wrong with you? So inside Pewter City, we can find the Pewter Museum of Science. Well, you know, when in Rome. Checking out the museum after paying the 50 Poke Child's ticket, how much would an adult's ticket be? We find a lot of cool fossils. Fossils of Pokémon that went extinct millions of years ago. Wait, how old is this franchise? Also, they're running a space exhibit upstairs. I mean, you know, space and dinosaurs. What more science do you really need? July 20, 1969. Humankind first set foot on the moon that day. I bought a color TV just so I could watch that news. You bought a color TV to watch a black and white broadcast? Also, we get our first look at some moonstones. Keep them in mind, they become somewhat important later on. Alright, enough with the touristry. It's time to do what we came here to do. Take on the Pokemon Gym. This is Pewter City Gym, whose leader is Brock, the rock-solid Pokemon trainer. Is that what the ladies call him? Taking a step inside, we see a very rock-inspired gym. Ooh, feeling like I made the wrong choice with my starter. I don't think that fire is going to do well against rocks. It appears as if Gary has already beaten us here. This atrocity cannot stand. We head into the gym where we are stopped by the first gym trainer who tells us that we're 10,000 light years from facing Brock. Nah, I'd say we're about 5 feet and beating up an insufferable brat away from facing Brock. So this is Camper Liam, and he shows off the type speciality of this gym, the ground type. Oh, sorry, it's the rock type. I don't know why I would make that mistake. Anyways, I'm able to dispatch Camper Liam pretty quickly, and thankfully this gives us enough experience to cause Margarine to evolve once again. And so Margarine evolves to its final form of a Butterfree. Get it? Margarine the Butterfree? It's so funny! I stole the idea from someone else. Anyways, our team is as good as it's going to get thanks to off-screen grinding, so let's take on Brock. So, you're here. What, were you expecting me? I'm Brock. I'm Pewter's gym leader. Pewter. My rock-hard willpower is evident even in my Pokemon. Whoa, dude, you gotta like turn it down a notch, please. My Pokemon are all rock-hard and have true grit determination. That was worse. That was way worse. That's right. My Pokemon are all the rock type. With ground, but that's beside the point. Fwahaha, you're going to challenge me knowing that you'll lose? Dude, I'm gonna Brock you up. Oh wait, I already made that joke already. Bah, a few people watch that video. I'm sure it'll be fun. Let's begin our first gym challenge. Brock starts off by throwing out a Geodude. Now, the one thing you should know about rock types is that they're pretty solid, as if Brock couldn't have made that more explicitly clear to us. Unfortunately, Ace and Zapsqueak are not going to be much use here. But thankfully, Porkchop is able to make quick work of this floating angry pebble. But then, Brock decides to send out his signature Pokemon, Onix. Onix is a 20-foot-long rock snake which somehow has less strength than Margarine. Pokemon-based stats are a trip. Despite this, Onix has insane physical defensive stats, which makes it hard for Porkchop to break through its rocky skin. But thankfully, Margarine has a special attack now, and we can use him to battle Onix. Confusion! Unfortunately, Onix has a move called Rock Tomb, which even though Onix's attack is similar to a kitten's paw strike, Margarine is 4 times weak to this attack, which will knock him out. So let's use Porkchop to clean up this Onix. Karate Chop! And the giant rock snake falls. And with that, we have defeated our first gym leader. Brock congratulates us by giving us the Boulder Badge. Fun fact, this is one of the few times a badge is given to you in a battle. They are mostly given out when you return to the overworld. What do you mean everyone knows that?